to do your job for you. I apologize.
Yeah,
Go for it,
yeah,
man.
absolutely.
Do
Well,
it.
hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for coming to the Silicon Plains webinar series. We're calling it "How to Actually Use AI for Your Business." So today we're going to perform kind of a live demo on how you can use AI as more than just a really fancy way to Google something. We're going to show you how to summarize longer form information using AI and how you can use that summary to create additional materials. We promised this thing would be the best 15 minutes in cybersecurity, but real quick before we dive in, just remember there will be time for Q&A at the end. And if you have any questions as we go, you can put them in the Q&A chat at the bottom or use the raise a hand feature at the bottom of your screen. With that, Dan, you can take it away.
So, hi, everybody. Yeah. So, what Damien talked about, I'm Dan, CEO of Silicon Plains. And what Damien talked about is what he and I had been discussing over the course of the last couple of months. I think it's super important to kind of back off of how complicated AI is and start with some of the basics. And I think a lot of people have heard about it, and maybe a few have started using it. But we wanted to begin this with some real foundational, straightforward ways that you can use AI, and in this particular case for today, ChatGPT, to do things for you day to day, really straightforwardly, sometimes using the free version. Today, we're using the $20 a month version, but using it day to day to accomplish some straightforward tasks that would otherwise take you a lot more time. So, what we're starting out with is like what Damien said, some basic stuff that we're going to do live using Chat GPT, and we logged in to it over the web. One thing before we dig into this too deeply, if you're using this for business purposes, and this is something that we'll cover partially during this webinar, but we're definitely going to be covering it over the course of the series. Make sure that you've got the right policies in place for your company and that you have the right kind of controls over how you're sharing information with any kind of AI-based anything. Something that has not yet been fleshed out completely with companies like ChatGPT is how they use your data. So if you do give it something like a spreadsheet and say, use the spreadsheet and do some things with it, if it's got confidential company information in it and you give it to ChatGPT, there is currently no guarantee that that information doesn't end up completely out on the web, available to the whole world immediately. So be sure to cover that with your local IT. And if that's us, we can answer that question for you and make sure that they're good with it and that you have a good policy in place. All right, Damien, you're the driver today. Jump into it, and we'll describe a little bit about what we're going to get into this first one.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So what we're going to start with is we're going to start with really simple video summaries, right? So one of the things that
Oh,
we
and
hear,
I should mention before, so just so people know how we did this, we went to the ChatGPT website, used a credit card, and bought the $20 a month ChatGPT service. And that's what you just logged into, right?
yes, that's correct.
Right. Okay. So it's just a website, $20 a month, and here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Just chatgpt.com is the best place to go get it. Only really legit place to do it. So an important hurdle to clear, but pretty simple. Thought we'd start with just kind of kicking things off. One of the things we hear a lot of is people looking to summarize things that take up a lot of time. So we hear a lot of, hey, if I'm going to a webinar like this one, or if I've got things like recurring education in my industry, that it'd be nice to be able to take that video and kind of summarize into something a little more useful. How can we do that? Can AI do that? And the answer is yes. So we'll just kind of kick things off here. The video we grabbed is just a video off YouTube. It's about 45 minutes and it's about employee onboarding and how you can be a good employee yourself as you get onboarded. So what we're going to do is we're just going to run right here in ChatGPT and we're just going to say, can you summarize this YouTube video and give me the 10 biggest takeaways, for example?
Important to note, we didn't preload the video. We didn't tell it about the video ahead of time. We didn't do anything at all. We would log in and give it this prompt.
So what you'll see here is not only will it show you that video back to you, right? So make sure it's the correct one. But one of the things that's kind of a little bit delicate with a feature like this is it will typically only work, this is kind of generally speaking, with newer video content that's publicly uploaded, right?
Well,
If it's
and it's important too. we're just talking about general content. It isn't just ChatGPT can look at videos. It's ChatGPT can look at almost any kind of content. Maybe you didn't know it could do videos, but it can't. Summarize how long was this video?
42 minutes.
42-minute long video, and it can summarize it for you in 30 seconds, and it does consume the whole video. Looks at it, listens to the text, or goes through the closed caption and looks at the summary of the video below it, where you see it typically in YouTube, and puts together, like in this case, top 10 key takeaways. At this point, now that the video has been loaded up into this particular chat session with ChatGPT, you can even ask ChatGPT questions about it. You could have it, for instance, turn it into a multiple choice quiz for training information, training material to use down the road. So all kinds of things you can do with this video by just giving it the link and saying, can you summarize this for me? So important in this particular example is to not think so much anymore about how you as a person consume information, but how would a fantastic computer in the future consume information if I wasn't thinking about what I think it's limited by? And to just ask ChatGPT, can you do this for me? And most of the time it can.
Yeah, absolutely. And to comment on that a little bit further, just while it finishes populating those 10 quiz questions, one of the things that I like the most about the way that ChatGPT does video summaries is not only will it summarize takeaways from the video, but you can see all these little links here. These are all links to articles that back up what the publisher of that video is saying. So not only will it go out and look at who is the author of this video, grab any of their personal information, it'll also kind of scroll their profile and say, oh, they've got a LinkedIn page where they discuss the same thing. Oh, these other companies commented on it or wrote very similar articles. Here are those resources as well. So you can see for pre-boarding matters, there's YouTube, similar YouTube videos from 2020 up to just really recently, Wikipedia articles on pre-onboarding for job interviews.
Right.
So
yeah, so it can dig in super
legitimizes
deeply.
that a little bit.
Yeah. Examples of content that you can also give it to say, can you just summarize this for me, please? 1,000-page PDF that you just simply don't want to read, but you wish you knew the information in it. You can say, give me the summary of this. Or what are the highlights? What are the most important things that that I need to know in my job as a CFO about this particular tax code change? And it will give you that information. It's important to always understand ChatGPT is not always 100% correct. So be a critical thinker when you're reading through this content. But most of the time, and as time goes on, it's getting better and better, and the information is becoming more reliable. So instead of for this first example, and we can jump to the next one after this. For this first example, it's think about content that you simply don't have time to, or don't want to, or want to change the content into something else. Like in this case, we turned a video into a pop quiz. Think about content that you typically would have to consume yourself as a human being, and in your day-to-day work, you can have ChatGPT shrink that content down or give you different ways to consume it so that you can get it done and move on with your day.
Yeah, and all kinds of great use cases for something like this. I mean, think if you've got continuing education requirements for you or anybody in your organization. I mean, you could take a PDF version of a textbook that is hundreds of pages, load it into ChatGPT and get, section by section, test by test, flashcard, style multiple choice questions like this, and boil down in minutes what used to take weeks of hard studying to even. And that's if you're organized enough, right, to make your own flashcards, which, of course, I totally was, but, that might not be for everybody.
Nerd.
Well, I mean, kind
All
of
right,
to play off your last example of larger scale PDF reports. So this right here is Carnival Cruise Line Corporation's 2024 annual report. I toss that in there, and we can kind of do that same example in video form as well.
It's a 62-page PDF that I don't want to read.
My goodness.
While you're getting that pulled up, something else too that you can think about when you're consuming content using one of these AI models like ChatGPT, you can have it grab something, and instead of boiling it down or summarizing it, you can have it just convert the content into something else. In this case, you have a PDF. You could ask ChatGPT to turn this into a PowerPoint presentation, a summarized one, and it can do that for you as well.
Yeah, so this right here is a 2024 financial report from Carnival Cruise Lines. So you can load something like this up here. It is 62 pages of very detailed and intricate financial information. And you can take that in there and of course kind of using the same prompt framework of, hey, if you were this role, what would you take away from this document? And it will give you a bunch of examples with year-over-year statistics, the key highlights, and takeaways on what next steps should be if ChatGPT were thinking like the CFO. So of course, it's never going to know the intricacies of your business like you would, but it can give you a lot of, I mean, it's 5 takeaways. Each one's got 3 or 4 bullet points. This is 20 ideas from a 62-page financial statement in, I mean, we're on the second part of this in 11 minutes, right? How long would it take somebody just to read that on their own if they were doing it themselves? So it can be incredibly helpful.
That's great stuff.
And yeah, you can see like Dana mentioned here at the bottom. I mean, you can get these in printable one-page formats. You can get them in PowerPoint slides. You can have it do, convert these into any format, necessary.
Right on. What do we got coming up next? Next example.
So the next example, we've got a couple of different options here. We can do either a 101 doc or another YouTube video, or we can look at kind of policy creation without putting
Yeah,
anything
let's do
else into
policy.
it.
Yeah, so policy creation. So this was one that was, everyone that I know dislikes having to create policies for things. It takes time. You have to match the format, got to get the header and footer correct. It's got to have similar language to the rest of your policies. And in this case, this is another example where you can give ChatGPT either like Damien just did, give it a prompt and say, can you create a policy for this? And it'll go out and try to find the best content it can specific to the question you asked it. And this is where prompt writing or question asking for AI becomes so important. You have to think more about the question. It's not a simple Google search anymore. It's not, can you find me a policy? Because of course it can, so can Google. But you can say, I am a technology company based in North Dakota. Can you create a policy for me that's similar to the SANS Institute cybersecurity policy on the use of, and so you have to think about your prompt because the more detailed the prompt, the more powerful the results and the more specific and relevant the results will be when you're done.
Yeah, perfect. So this is a great example. I mean, we didn't put any other information in terms of, company name, address, any kind of format or, preferences, right? I mean, maybe you want to have multiple steps in the disciplinary action section. This is in minutes, admittedly kind of the bones of what an acceptable use policy would look like for cell phone usage in a company. But that was under 2 minutes of time to come up with a document that gives you a pretty good starting point and can absolutely be refined with just, I mean, a few more minutes of time. I know we're kind of already running up ish towards our 15 minutes, so I didn't want to get too into the weeds with it, but this is a great example of policy usage in moments.
Absolutely, it is. Yep.
Perfect. Well, that was a few examples there. Dan, is there anything else with the last couple of minutes here that you'd want to
You know what? Why don't we take
give
one of
here?
these and let's try one on the fly. Let's be risky. Let's ask ChatGPT to create a sales PowerPoint for a cybersecurity company called Silicon Plains that describes the company and its strengths. So at Silicon Plains, we no longer create any PowerPoint content on our own by hand. We use, in our case, it's the Copilot, which is the built into Microsoft 365, powered by ChatGPT AI. And it's fantastic for being able to use company data that's controlled and protected in producing content and makes it a little more relevant when you're creating it so that it's, got the Silicon Plains logo already ready to go and has a better understanding of the employees and the content, whatever. But it makes better content. And so we don't use, we don't go in and create PowerPoints by hand anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have to be, especially with something like PowerPoint, especially if they're for internal use. I mean, you do have to remember a little bit that any information that goes into ChatGPT is part of the large language model, right? So even if you are thinking, well, hey, I'll just have it make a quick internal, PowerPoint that's just for our employees, you do have to kind of keep one eye on what you're putting into it. But this here is what it produces, and we'll see how close it's got the About Silicon Plains section.
In this particular case, too, because we're using ChatGPT and not our internal tool set, it doesn't do as good of a job with making it flashy and having slide transitions. It'll do all of that for you as well. What we're using is control the environment as we can, and we didn't ask it to do any of that in this particular case. But you can see how much faster it is at generating pretty decent content than an individual would be if they just sat there, scratched their head, and started typing.
Yeah, and it's important to remember AI, it's going to pull all of, you can see like we talk about, you guys got to be a little careful, double bullet points, things like that, right? It can't do everything for you, at least not yet. But ChatGPT and other large language models, they pull information not only off your website, but of other, indexing sites, right? So I know for a lot of small businesses, it's companies like Manta, right? These kind of um, indexing companies that have a whole bunch of different industries under their umbrella. It's going to pull a lot of data from that as well. So sometimes it might be not necessarily wrong, but a little bit out of date.
Exactly. All right, we hit our 16-minute mark. So hopefully going through this for some people who just haven't had any experience with anything artificial intelligence or using ChatGPT, you can start to see where it is not just another way to access a Google search. It's almost on its way to an assistant to help you create things, summarize content, and at a basic level, do things for you that otherwise you would have just sat there and typed away and wiggled your mouse and spent an hour or two trying to ask somebody if they know where the mission, vision, and values document is for the company, so you can go start creating something like this PowerPoint. And most importantly, saving you time day to day. In the next episodes that we're going to be doing on whether it's ChatGPT or Copilot or some of the other solutions that are out there, we're going to be getting more advanced. So we'll be going into more complex ways to make AI analyze things for you and give you answers. Also, to maybe have it jump into your Outlook, like we were talking about earlier today, Damien, and analyze all the time that you've been spending by looking at emails, by looking at your calendar and saying, here's where most of your time is eaten up, and here's some suggestions on what you could do. So we'll be asking it more complex things and using different tool sets, all the way up to using it to create applications that we can use on our desktop and Windows by just querying,
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great point. Our,
writing
our
good
next
prompts.
one, our next webinar here is going to be in August 28th. Congratulations. If you're in this one, it should already be on your calendar. So no reminders or anything to go out there, but we will be looking at more in-depth data analysis, actually using that same Carnival Cruise Lines data that we showed a little bit in this one. So it'll be able to kind of take it one step deeper as opposed to just kind of the basics of AI. So it should be a lot of fun. But I'm not seeing any questions or anything at the moment, or any
Well,
hands
maybe
raised?
just a reminder too. The main way to get started with this is to talk to your IT department or talk to whoever's responsible for policies at your organization and say, do we have an AI policy? And if not, can we get it created? And help me understand how I can access these tools in my day-to-day work, and ask that of the people in the organization. And if you're the person that's supposed to be doing that, you don't know how, get a hold of us, either send in a support ticket to answers@siliconplains.net, or you can ask one of your account managers, send an email to sales@siliconplains.net, and they'll be able to answer that question for you and get you started. The main concern with this is to ensure that you're all using it inside your organization the same way, that there's good training for it, and that there's good security around how your data is used when you share it with any kind of AI. That's the advantage of using something like Microsoft Copilot over ChatGPT, because Copilot is a very locked down, contained, it's kind of like your own copy of an artificial intelligence that is stuck only on your information, and it won't share it with anything outside the world. So it's super important to get started that way. And probably as important, it's built into every tool you already have. So if you're using Office 365 in any way, shape, or form, Copilot is a part of every single app, and is a fantastic thing to start using as soon as you can. So if you see that Copilot icon in the top right, in a lot of cases, it's right up there next in the ribbon. Click it and start experimenting.
Yeah, a lot of great points there. I mean, a couple of things to touch up on there. If you are a Silicon Plains client, we do have training videos in your technology portal, specifically on Microsoft Copilot, and that
Mhm.
ranges again from really intro, what is this, how does this work, all the way up to, creating incredible documents there using Copilot. And we're also going to, in the summary and recorded version of this, when that goes out, we're going to attach links to a couple other just free, very intro what is AI? How does it work? For those who are curious, that'll be there to follow up with as well. We
Right.
did get a question here in the Q&A for Dan, and it's, does Dan always look that dashing?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Very good point. Yep. He's dialed it down
Yes.
today. He's not doesn't have the top hat. So yeah, a little bit dressed down for this, but that's all right. Perfect. Well, Dan, before we get out of here, do you have any other words of wisdom you want to share with the group, or are we about ready?
Jump into the next webinars that we've got. They're quick, they're easy to do, or take a look at the ones that because we record them all and put them out on our YouTube channel and accessible elsewhere as well. And make sure you go through them. This is probably going to make the biggest change in technology as it's used in business in anyone's current living generation. And so ensure that you're using it and getting started with it, because it's going to absolutely change the way that we use computers from top to bottom. Nothing will be the same. 10 years from now, it'd be totally different. So getting started with it is super important so that we're not taken off guard down the road when all of a sudden a tool that we were used to using in a particular way no longer exists.
Yeah, definitely. And just to kind of follow up with that as we get out here, August 28th, Thursday, 3 p.m. Same time, we are going to be going through AI data analysis and policy creation in a little bit more detail, kind of skip some of the what is AI 101 stuff, and maybe get into a little bit more detail so people can make their own AI policies, all the fun stuff people want to do all day, right? So it'll be a lot of fun.